As you know, I don't treat many people laying down.
You think you can fix me? Good luck.
I do love a challenge.
Saying, hey, I need help.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, so what did you do? I had to use more of this.
Breathe. You have to remember to breathe.
You're kind of in a cocoon and you're just licking your wounds and trying to figure out where the heck am I going next?
Welcome back to another episode of Real Stories. I'm your host, Jordan Silvester, and today we've got Carrie Deslippe with us. She's an RMT, owner of Above and Beyond Massage Therapy Clinic, as well as fixer of me. She's actually done a lot of work on my body. I kind of messed it all up when I was young. How's it going, Carrie?
Oh, it's going well. How about you?
Good. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
So what's a quick overview of Carrie, the young girl, to Carrie, the woman you are today?
Oh my goodness.
Quick
story.
Take your time.
Well, I grew up in Windsor, and when I was growing up, I really wanted to become an animator. That was what I dreamed of, and I wanted to do art. And I went to Sheridan College for art fundamentals, and that's where I did glass blowing, and I learned wire sculpting, and I had a great time. And I tried to get into animation, but unfortunately my grades were not at the A+ level that they were accepting. So I decided to come back, and I took graphics design for a little bit, and then my life kind of took a tailspin of non-expecting circumstances.
Okay.
I had a fiance leave me briefly before my wedding, and I lost the house, and I had to recircle back, and I was very blessed that my mom and dad's neighbor, as they were growing up, they had two young mentally challenged young adults.
Okay.
And they were asked on who they wanted to kind of help support them and raise them and take care of them and watch them. And they picked me. And that really shocked me. And that got me out of a tailspin of what am I going to do with my life? I did the graphics design for a bit, obviously. And while I was in graphics design, I had a little bit of a mental hiatus of things happening. So taking care of them was able to kind of redirect my thoughts and processes. And then I became a PSW.
Okay.
Which before PSW existed. So it was actually, now I'm showing my age, but it was actually a personal attendant program. And I was lucky enough to work for a company called APPD.
Okay.
And while I was doing that, my clients that I would see on a regular basis and in-home, I started like just kind of helping them, and they said, oh my gosh, you should do massage. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. It's not really for me. And so I took a course, just a one-day thing, just to see if I enjoyed it, and it blew my mind because while I was in Sheridan, I was learning about, life models, and I was drawing, and I had to know the anatomy in order to draw it. So I was really kind of struck by how much I enjoyed learning about neurology, pathology, and everything else. And the course blew me away of how exciting it was to learn something new, especially when you feel like you don't really know where you fit in.
Okay.
And I was able to basically use and utilize my ability to look at something and not only animate it, but I can see where things don't line up, as I've done with you.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've used, even though I may not know where I was going, I used a lot of my little U-turns around to become the successful person you see in front of you.
That's awesome. So when you're looking back, again, you mentioned animators in your youth, graphics as you got a little bit older, different circumstances changed personally that caused you to end up in a weird spot that brought about another opportunity.
Yeah.
That was nothing like what you thought, and then led you, funny enough, down to a road where they brought you kind of all the way back to where you draw again. This time,
actually, yeah.
You draw people. I know this because, again, she draws me, and she's like, see this on this picture where I see all your problems? But it helps you because you have the background and, of course, with the art to match that and bring that together with the massage therapy to then work on people and see people not just as, not to say other masseuses aren't good at what they do, but you bring a different perspective, in my experience, than most other masseuses. A lot of it is you're trying to see where the pain is and why it's happening. They're there to try to help with relief. You're there to fix. If that makes any sense, versus like they're there to help with relief, they're help to manage pain, they're there to do those things, and you're trying to actually go to the core of why there's an issue?
I think the way that I've worked on, and it's just due to my own injuries and ailments, I've had a lot of, I was crushed by an elevator door. I was told I'd never walk again. And it's just numerous things have come up that I've realized that I can feel firsthand where the injuries are. And I, instead of thinking, okay, the pain must be here, so the problem must be here, I've been able to kind of be like, okay, the pain is here, but the problem is here. And I think that's where I could use the background of Sheridan, is that I can look at the momentum and things, how they move, and see kind of the levers and the different pulley system that the body works in. And I can see where things come out of place. And even though your big toe might, or like, even though it might be something in your shoulder, it actually could be connected to your feet.
Right.
So that's where I think I stand out a little bit. I've been doing it for many, many years. A lot of people cross-reference me as a hybrid, as a massage therapist.
Right.
Because I do work in the body in my own scope, but then because of my outside experiences, have allowed me to treat a little differently. As you know, I don't treat many people laying down, face down. I definitely have treated standing up, as you know, too.
Yep.
And it's just being able to think outside the box and always being able to kind of change my perspective of where I think the injury is coming from instead of where you might say it is.
Right. No, that's awesome. And so again, with your business and everything you've built to this day, when you rewind time, so again, back to the young girl, school years, growing up with the animation, the more creative background, when you look back at that time, what do you remember most about then? So if there's somebody who's there now, that's their life, they're in the creative, they're at Walkerville per se, because that's our local school where, you know, it's designed around arts and different things there. What would you say to somebody when they're thinking this is the outworking of how my life will go, and how would you see yourself then? It's basically talking to you, you know, 10 years ago.
10 years ago. I like that. Yeah. I would say that your creative juices should never dry up.
Okay.
That basically, even though I did want to do, when I was in high school, it was, grade school was more animation and drawing, and then high school it was architecture.
Okay.
And then, believe it or not, I actually failed art school or art class in my high school. And being able to put a portfolio of my work and being accepted at Sheridan kind of showed to me that not everybody has control over my life. Like, if I would have just said, oh, I really like art, but I failed, then I must not be good. Being able to take what everyone says as a grain of salt and saying, okay, well, you might think that, but I'm going to change direction and go in this way. I think if I had to tell my younger self is just to persevere. Unfortunately, in my grade school, I was very, very, very bullied. And I've had a lot of injuries, fractured ribs and different things. And again, I could be honest, I wanted to throw in the towel even at a young age, because it's so hard trying to maintain your individuality and your uniqueness. As you know, being my friend, I basically come across as authentic as I can, because I just don't have the capacity to be fake.
Right.
And when I can be around fake people, I get uncomfortable.
Right.
So I like to be as authentic as I can. So I think I don't have any resentment to even the bullies that did bully me. They've shaped me to who I am. And I think if I had to go back to my younger self, I would just say, keep persevering and don't change anything.
Well, it would seem you've persevered fairly well, seeing as you've managed to get through a few different hiccups. You mentioned again, early on, you had a relationship that fell apart that caused you to go into some trauma there around just mental instability, which happened. Like, that's got to be quite the experience. And then in there, you found your neighbor with the disabled children and the ability to come in and support there. How like when you look at that time frame, and you're kind of saying to yourself, okay, so this is where I was going. These were my plans. This was my life. Resetting and then getting involved in that. What did you find to be most fulfilling, or what was the thing there that kind of brought you back out, like brought you through?
I just know when I was younger, like I would be with my grandparents and like they had neighbors that I would just come over and just keep them company. I just felt very intuitive and wanting to be taking care of someone. And I took care of like my grandmother's neighbors, even they weren't in my own country, they were in the States, but it just never came across to do anything other than just try to help people.
Right.
And when I was offered to take care of those young adults, I had already had some training on taking care of people, because I also had one of my cousins was born with a very rare disease. And when he's born, as he grows up, he still has the body of an infant.
Oh.
So even though I'm now estranged from that part of my family, unfortunately, but growing up, I had to learn very quickly how to adapt and how to use lifts and how to have empathy and be there supportive while the family was also struggling through trying to figure that out. I was a little girl growing up, being taught how to raise and help people. And so it just kind of connected when those two young adults came to me. It just fit. And then being and taking care of the physically disabled also fit with my mom being blind. I've had a lot of different handicaps in and around, and different people and disabled people. So it didn't make any sense not to do anything except for to support and be there for them.
That's awesome. So you basically it fed into basically you grew up with it. It fit into kind of how you've been brought up, raised to take care of, support, and come alongside. And then through doing that, you mentioned it's PSW now, but you got a different title back then. And then from there, those people were saying, because as you were helping people, were you massaging or doing things to them at that time as you saw their bodies? Like where does so you have this crossover from, okay, PSW supporting, helping, and then they're the ones who say, hey, have you considered massage?
It's a very interesting situation. So I want to say it's because of the understanding of being at Sheridan and not being afraid of the human form,
right,
and being around someone who I had to bathe and take care of as my cousin, and I had to take care of my mom and everybody else, that I wasn't afraid to, I had the confidence to be able to help and touch. And I think a lot of people in that industry still had fear of touching someone and helping them, that there was directions that we had to do, like physical therapy, like exercises. Like one lady I can think of, after the shower, very specifically, she had a stroke. So after the shower, there was a whole routine of exercises we had to do because the body was warmed up.
Right.
And I took the time and I listened to her, and I not only didn't force it to make it just get through the time of it, but I was gentle. So I already knew the anatomy.
Okay.
And I think being able to think and have the patience to do that specific client was one that said I should. Another one is as I was putting on compression tights on them or doing different things, I knew how to reduce swelling, or I just kind of fell into just helping without even knowing I was helping. And I think just my touch allowed them to say, you should do this. And like I said, when they wanted me to, I actually wonder, and I go back, that do the clients that I've seen on a regular basis regret telling me I should get into massage? Because right after that, I couldn't do the schooling, and I couldn't do PSW, or I couldn't do it together. And I do actually think back and wonder, like, do they regret saying, oh man, where'd she go?
Oh, yeah, because all of a sudden you switch careers. And,
yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, as you change and expand in life. Yeah, I'm sure they would love to know what their influence was, right? Like how they were able to speak into your life in a way. Because I think most of us, we're always curious whatever does happen, right? Like it's when you talk to somebody or you've had an influence in their life, and getting an opportunity to ever see the result, that would be a cool thing. So if you actually had a way to say, hey guys, I'm so grateful for everything you did for me. I hope whoever came in after me was able to take care of you well. Even if they couldn't do the things you were capable of, because again, you have a different experience. But it's really cool then to see, and then that is where, above and beyond and all of that, comes from. And so as you're looking at that, it's like you have in somewhere along this road, you also had the elevator door crush you.
Actually, the elevator door got me on my first year of opening Above and Beyond.
Okay.
And becoming an RMT. It was a very odd experience at the time. I actually was right on the beginning of my career. I had back surgery because of being a PSW or personal attendant. While being a personal attendant, I took care of the physically disabled in their homes, and I was young and I thought I was agile and sprite, but unfortunately my body decided to say it wasn't, and I needed back surgery. And so right after my back surgery is when I was already in my first year of business, and then I decided, okay, I needed someone to help me to continue with my clients. And I decided to have other people join me in the clinic. And then I went to a conference because I always wanted to advance. That's what I liked about massage therapy is you could go and learn so many other techniques and modalities, and you can't get bored with this profession.
Right.
There's so many avenues that you can do, as you'll know, obviously in now. But yeah, I think when I was learning those techniques and things, and then while at the conference, that's when I got crushed by the elevator. That's actually would be the precipice of me actually developing my true technique and my niche. I want to say the before part, I was just following the foundations of what the school taught, the general Swedish, and this is this, massage here, protocol, flip this. But because of the elevator accident and my back surgery, I've had to adapt or get out of the profession.
Right.
Instead of getting out of the profession, I decided to adapt, and I couldn't really do too much with being crushed with my arm. I had to use my arm differently. So instead of using pure brunt force, I had to use more of this. And that's what made me kind of, okay, well, I don't really need to move and dig. And it's not about deep tissue. I can go deep with listening to the body and going down in layers and kind of moving you around instead of me just pushing you down.
Right.
And I think that that's kind of where I went with that. So.
Yeah, my favorite conversation is breathe. You have to remember to breathe. It's like, yeah, but that hurts quite a bit.
Yeah.
But it releases, so it hurts, but you get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've moved through. You've been through the accidents, the life, the experiences, and then now we're at Above and Beyond. And Above and Beyond today, and some of the cool things you've done. I know you've traveled the world. I know that you've done. Again, you have your clinic operating right now. You've got clients, and business is good, from my understanding. Again, it was funny. We met at a networking event of all places. I basically said, "You think you can fix me? Good luck." And I've been at least a challenge. It hasn't.
Yeah. As I always say, when you come in, it's always an interesting treatment because I do love a challenge. And yes, you definitely have come in as a Tetris, and you've come in as a twisted candy cane. And as you know, I will just say what I see. And
And then you work on it. And so when you're looking at this version, so the last, I would say, after the elevator accident, after you're able to restabilize, getting your business up and off the ground as an entrepreneur, and the continued expansions and contractions of business, right? How does that play out? So now we're past that into the Above and Beyond world. How has that gone?
Well, I mean, it's not without its own trials and tribulations. And one is different personalities that I had to adapt to and work with, because I had a lot of growing up myself to do, to realize not everyone has the same work ethic. Not everyone has the same personalities, might not blend with each other. So the first few years were, I would say, exceptionally stressful, trying to help as many as I could at the same time as even helping my therapists. But noticing that even though I was helping them, I was almost hindering them by doing too much for them.
Gotcha.
So I took on too much of them, like my family. I don't have children. Scott and I, we went above and beyond of our care. We would do Christmas parties. We would really try to stretch ourselves. We didn't realize at the time how thin we stretched ourselves to support and the family that we built. Because and now, thinking back in retrospect, I can say, oh, well, it might have been the fact that at the time my personal family was disintegrating, like I said, about being estranged from my family. So I think it's brought me to where I am based on my previous experience. So Above and Beyond in the beginning was very, very hard. But if I have to be honest, what made it the best was actually meeting Merrick.
Okay.
From the Windsor, and I never say it right, Ontario Network. I'm so sorry if I just blew that one apart, but Merrick, actually going to the lumberjack and realizing I wasn't alone.
Right.
And I never imagined myself to be a business owner. In fact, for the many, many years in the beginning, nobody knew I owned Above and Beyond. They just assumed I worked for, at the time, Erin was one of my colleagues.
Okay.
And she's phenomenal. And everybody assumed that she was the owner and I was just one of the workers.
Right.
And I didn't have a problem like stepping back. And it's not that I didn't take pride and ownership of Above and Beyond. I just didn't realize the potential. I didn't realize that, like, when I opened it, the only thing I wanted to do was I wanted a fair space that people could afford to get treatment and get better. And I wanted to help every charity, every community that reached out and said, could you do this? Could you do that? Yes, yes,
Right.
yes. And when I finally met Merrick, I realized I didn't have to struggle alone. I could talk to other business owners and hear the same trials and tribulations and be like, oh my God, yes. Okay, so what did you do?
Right. I'm not alone. There's other people who have craziness going on in their worlds, and their worlds are not all perfect. Because
Yeah.
I think one of the mistakes we've made in life is so often we look at the Facebook, right? So it's like, what does Facebook tell us that person's life is? But the more you're in life as a realtor, right? That's what I do. I see a lot of the inside realities of people's lives because you're dealing with them during some difficult circumstances. It's very rare you get there are the occasional ones where it's great. The family's growing. It's an awesome experience, but you're often in death, you're in divorce, you're in these circumstances where again, people don't realize that people are going through because nobody really wants to air their dirty laundry. Nobody's out there saying, hey, I need help, which is actually an interesting thing. Most of the time, the reason why we get in the most trouble. Yeah. And one of the things I've learned through my life is when I don't ask for help, when I know that I need it. You see, either I don't want to ask for it because I don't want to show that I couldn't do it, or I don't want to ask for it because I actually don't want to actually do the answer that I know is coming. So there's both sides of that same coin. Yeah. And so interesting though, as we network, we get with other business owners. It's been a cool thing to get to know you, right? That's how we met.
Yeah.
The fact that, we're all building businesses. We all have ideas. Sometimes, I can support your business. You can support mine just by a conversation. It's like, oh, I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
I didn't, do that. And again, a lot of times what I find most interesting is it's not even that whatever I've said to somebody matters. It's that it gets them thinking.
Yeah.
They then come up, oh yeah, I didn't do that, but this is what I did. And you're like, cool, like you did something. Yeah. Because most of the time we're like doing the same thing, hoping everything fixes itself generally doesn't work. Systems and models exist. You can follow them and those do work. There's proven systems and models, but so often the creativity in the entrepreneurial spirit can get us into more trouble than help.
Oh yes. Wow. It's funny that you say that. So as I said, the beginnings of trying to understand Above and Beyond and try to put myself in a business standpoint was very, very, very difficult for me. That's why I took a back seat even with my marriage with Scott. So he ran the business on the back end and I just was the face of just massaging and doing the best I can. And realizing along the way, clients were recommending and decided then I just wanted to take if anybody sees me, they have to know me personally, they have to have met me, or they need to be referred to me. And I realized early on, I started that because I wanted, again, to support the therapists that were in my clinic because I was getting booked up for my techniques and the way I was treating and always learning new things. I was with the World Massage Festival, and I would go to learn like 2 to 3 new things. I would try to find out what the city needed. I took a lot of that, those steps forward to see where I can better myself. And instead of realizing that, I decided to keep saying like, well, why isn't the other therapist busy? Like, what can I do to do that? Right. But they weren't taking that initiative themselves. Like they were just okay with what they were doing, which is fine. Because again, that's a hard lesson for me to learn is that not everybody is in that realm for that reason. Everyone has their own reasons. So perfect example again is I finally had a really good team with me. I had John Iancis. He just became an osteopath. And that was amazing. So also before me getting crushed by the elevator, I was planning on buying the building of where I was working out of. And I was planning on going to school for osteopathy because it was something that was much more related to what I was treating already.
Right.
But being crushed, it kind of put a dampen on that. So I
Yep.
couldn't buy the building. I didn't go to school, all the other stories. But directly before COVID, I had decided now's the time to branch out. So I opened up a second location.
Right.
Well, a satellite office, let's say. And having that satellite office was putting me there with another 3 therapists, and then me having the 7 that I had. And I thought that was a good amount of time. It wasn't far away. Everything would work out. And then boom, COVID.
Right.
And not many people wanted to be touched during that time, I don't think, especially with the way I treat with Face Up, right?
Right.
So it was an interesting turn of events, because right after I had everybody finally sign some good leases that the clinic was making an income, everything was working out, I had this working. I also looked at buying a house, which would have been gorgeous on the water, just to kind of work out of there. Everything was kind of going in the right way. And then as everyone went through COVID, it just threw a wrench in it. And I had to close because my staff, or my colleagues, I don't want to call them staff, but my colleagues couldn't treat anymore. They didn't want, some had to get out of a few of them got out of the industry entirely.
Right.
Edie was a phenomenal massage therapist, but just due to her taking care of her husband and her own health, she couldn't do it. I had Tova, and she was absolutely great, but she had a kid and she was just trying to see what to do. So she had to get out. John Iancis moved to British Columbia, become an osteopath, open a clinic. I'm so excited. I hear stories about him. So many of my therapists, Aaron, all of them, Haley, all of them had to kind of branch away and live their own life.
Right.
So having to almost kind of, I don't want to say eat humble pie, but I had to like take a step back, and I had no choice but to close the big location of which it started out.
Right.
And then I had to stay where I was. And even at that time, I remember saying I felt like I was, and I felt like I was like a caterpillar, right?
Yep.
I was kind of a chrysalis, I think is what it's called, right?
Yes.
So you're kind of in a cocoon and you're just licking your wounds and trying to figure out where the heck am I going next?
Yep.
And finally, the world kind of opened up again. We were able to treat again. And I realized how much the clients needed me.
Right.
And unfortunately, seeing how they would come in and how broken and how things were missing, and then also seeing how good they got, even because of the home care that I would give, or I would show videos on how to take care of their loved ones. And
okay.
even during COVID, it was funny because I was off, I think, only a month. I think they had us off for. And the interesting part is even though I was not working, I still was on the computer. I was still sending emails out. I was still trying to make videos. Scott, being who he was very gracious. So he was my body as I was showing techniques to the clients, so for their partners to do them, to help them feel better.
Right.
Especially with respiratory and how to do certain things, right? So it just basically showed the importance of massage therapy in general and in the society as a whole.
Right.
And being able to kind of realize, okay, well, what is again, thinking of what the community might need. And that's when I decided I was going to learn somatic.
Okay.
And somatic is understanding that the emotional energies can be held in our body, and our thoughts can control how our body reacts.
Right.
And at that time, I was going through a very emotional issue. I was actually trying to understand more about my marriage. And I decided to take a course and learn about somatic. And I also took, because it's me, I like to kind of see as much as I can, as you know. I went to, and I became, I started with the American Massage Championship. I was asked if I could be in it. My first response was no, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's the American Massage Championship for one, and I'm a proud Canadian. That is very true.
Yeah.
But my mother is American, and I don't know if that was a loophole or not, but they had asked me again, and I'm like, no, I don't think so. At this time, it's not a good idea. But I kind of thought about it. Because of my technique being so unique,
Right.
now is a good time to put my money where my mouth is and see, is there another therapist out there who treats in this fashion? And if so, learn from them and see where
Right.
I can brainstorm. So I said, okay, you know what, I'll take it. And while I was there, I basically won the silver medal at the American Massage Championship.
Mm-hmm.
And for the chair massage, which is something I was very surprised and shocked and honored. And when I started realizing that importance and how massage was, that's when I basically had to leave a bad situation professionally, and I found another location to work out of. And I had another group of people who were eager to learn and wanting to basically see what we can help and how to help the community. I had Shelby. Shelby was with me during COVID as well, and it basically gave me new hope for Above and Beyond. So going in and thinking, okay, while I was in during COVID, I'm like, that's it. I don't want to own a business again. This is so hard. I don't know how to do it. I get so close to the people, my colleagues, and life happens. And what am I going to do? But then I met Shelby, and she was a breath of fresh air. And I got help from another colleague at the time where I was working, it's Jackie, and she cleared the weirdness out of my head. So she gave me more direction. Learning about somatic also gave me more clarity and more direction. So then fast forward to basically opening Above and Beyond, having John Labonte. He was just an amazing individual. He worked with me for, I believe, 3 years. And again, he helped me open the clinic. He was my strength, the one I could lean on and say everything will be okay. Unfortunately, he passed away in January, which has been a little bit hard. But he had this amazing soul, amazing energy. And I met Tiago, and he wanting to learn reflexology and just jumping in with 2 feet and 2 feet jumping in. And the interesting thing is, he did a technique on me with reflexology, and as he was treating me, and it blew my mind because I really didn't want to get treated with reflexology. And while he was treating me, he's like, "Do you want a blanket?" And I said, "No, I'm too hot. I just massaged 8 people. I just want to go home. But because you need your hours, yeah, sure, let's go." So I'm laying down in this like reclining chair, and as he's doing reflexology on me, I'm noticing it's tender. Like he's noticing like this hurts and that hurts. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, what's this? And it can be a little bit intimate on reflexology, because there's some points that can be like, the brain or the bladder or the whatever. I don't feel like telling someone that I don't really know, what my ailments are.
Sure.
So I decided the next foot, I'm not going to tell him anything. And I just want to go home. So when he went to go switch to the other foot, I got a full body chill. Like really cold. And regretfully, and being the person I am, I had to ask for a blanket. And asking, as you know, Tiago, for a blanket is not just as easy as here you go. No,
not after
it
you
had
said
to
no.
Right. So it had to go into a whole story of, well, I thought you don't want a blanket. And at this point, I was so cold, my teeth were chattering. Right. And I said, I don't know what's happening. And he's like, well, that's reflexology. It's Egyptian reflexology.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, whatever it is, I just want my blanket. So I got a blanket. He started working on my foot, and I decided to not tell him it hurt because I wanted to keep my body personal, I guess. And he stopped on my feet, and he's like, I'm not doing it anymore. And I said, well, why? And he goes, because you're not telling me where it hurts. I know you're not telling me. And being this person I am, I decided to lunge myself towards him and said, how do you know it doesn't hurt? Like, what are you talking about? It's fine. Let's go. And he is very stubborn. And he said, no, I can feel your pain. When he said those words, it made me realize that I wanted to teach him. I wanted to see what more he could do.
Right.
And because people see me based on how I treat and how I can be, and I can feel their pain, I know where to go, I know everything. I basically had him massage me, and I asked him to. And as he was doing it, it actually aggravated every single spot on my back. But what was interesting is he found every single spot. He didn't know what to do with anything. Right. So I thought, okay, I think this is a good path for him, is to go in that direction. And I've been mentoring him ever since. Is just awesome. To try to see what more he can do and stretch his potential in that regard. So Above and Beyond it's there for the people, but it's also been there, I want to say, for the colleagues and to grow that way. So I think being where we are now and the new people that are joining, I'm so excited to see their next journey. I'm excited. Like we have a social worker who deals with like PTSD and trauma. And I'm just excited because for the first time in the 17 years that Above and Beyond's been there, not saying I didn't appreciate the awards and everything and the accolades that I've received, for the first time, I take such pride in saying I am the owner of Above and Beyond Massage Therapy Clinic. And there's just something there that now makes it like valid.
That's awesome. So when you say that, so I am the owner, it sounds like basically that not only that, it's I now have an ability to teach something and somebody else who, again, how many more people can learn from this technique? Because again, it's not a normal technique.
No.
And so as you continue to grow your own technique, meaning it's like anything, you're kind of treading, you're not sure. A lot of times you'll say to me, hey, I've got to research this to see what we should do, because again, how does this work with that, right?
100%.
It's all the different pieces of the puzzle, and that's really how you're putting it together. But there's that part that you seem very interested in, and then there's also, like you said, the educational. And so it's really cool just to see that in process as you're growing, right? And it's interesting because, again, there will be some new iteration that'll come out of all of it, and there'll be another story to come, because that's how life works. And so again, when you're looking back over all of it, so we're back to the child in school all the way to today. When you look at, are there any forks in the road? Are there any major spots where you look back and you're like, man, I'm so glad that, as much as it was possibly something that was traumatic or something that wasn't what you want, like you mentioned earlier, the bullies, I'm grateful for the experience. No one's grateful that they had a bully, but you're grateful for the perseverance it created within you. Are there spots like that, or things that if a young person is going through something or seeing it, it's like, be more, be in gratitude for the struggles of life sometimes, and where do you see that in your own life?
I think that's interesting. Is I've always said is that I don't regret, and I don't resent, and I don't want to become bitter.
Okay.
A long time ago, I actually had one of those bullies come into my treatment center, and they heard about what I do, and I had a moment of, what do I do? Do I want to help them, or do I want to say, get out? Or do I want to say, discharge or refer out or something else? But this person came in with something that I am trained in being able to do, and I can help. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to show to them how the person I am. Right. Because on the table, they actually said, well, it's not, we were kids. That's what happened. Yes, we were kids, but that experience shaped me to be who I am. I now know, and I will always protect and help everybody because it's part of who I am because of my own experiences.
Right.
And instead of me saying, okay, I don't want to treat you, I gave them the best massage I could. And I think I made them eat humble pie. And I think that it made them realize I wasn't the little kid that they can bully again.
Right.
And that maybe just maybe they could look at it as a lesson on their own. So I think instead of being bitter, I would look at that. Even with my fiance leaving me, as much as that was horrible and I lost my house and all of this other stuff, it brings on an appreciation and a gratitude, because even though, let's say you get stuck by a train, I could be really upset and say, get the hell out of my way, and mad. But I always take a car. Like, I was in the car once with my mom and dad. It was my dad. And my dad, someone cut me off or something. And I said it so fast. And my dad's like, what did you just say? And I was like, oh, I hope they win the lottery. He's like, they just cut you off. And I said, yeah. And he goes, why would you say you want them to win the lottery? And I said, because if I say I want them to have something bad, then I believe full-heartedly it's going to rebound and come back to me. So I would selfishly want to win the lottery. And I don't mind wishing them good, because we don't know why they cut me off.
Right.
They might have a reason. Maybe they have someone, a loved one in the hospital. I don't know about you, and I'll be honest, I'm on camera, but being honest, if you look within yourself, how many of us have accidentally ran a stop sign? Accidentally, totally like, oh my God. Do you stop twice at the next one, or do you just go like, I can't believe that happened, and become more observant and more inside, because we do go on autopilot.
Yep.
But now imagine someone who's sitting at that stop sign sees me run it. they could go crazy on me, chase me down, and have road rage.
Right.
Or they could just say, oh my gosh, whatever's causing that person to unfortunately run a stop sign, hopefully they, will get to the piece of not being able to, or become a little more understanding of leaving sooner, or, whatever else.
Yep.
But instead of saying, getting mad, just learning from it. And I think that comes with my age. I think that's coming with just everything, crushed by an elevator, back surgery, yada, 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 broken ankles, being told and knowing that I'm in charge of my own destiny and I'm in charge of my own reaction. You've given me advice in that regard. And just knowing that, if I'm having an act, like something happened and I'm upset because of someone doing something to me, it's not, if I give them space inside my head, then that's my choice. Mm-hmm. So being able to just kind of be like, okay, that happened, move on and learn from it, instead of being why me and how did this happen and chase them down. It's easier to just kind of look at the situation and go, okay, well, I still have this and I still have that and I'm still appreciative and, I wish them well.
When it's always like, you're driving me crazy, I'm like, well, then stop giving me the keys.
Exactly.
Because interestingly enough, we can only control ourselves, mm-hmm. right? And as you were speaking there, it's always about, okay, but this other person did this thing. You're like, yep, absolutely true. What did then you do? Because you're still responsible, no matter what the circumstance, for your own action. Now, justifiably, you might have a response that maybe is good or bad, depending on the circumstance, and maybe you can learn from it. Mm-hmm. But the reality is you're still responsible. And again, I'm not saying if somebody punches you in the face, don't hit him back. Yeah. But just know, when you're hitting him back, you're choosing to do it. Just because that happens. Now, I am of the mindset, like if my kid gets punched in school, I'm not like, yeah, just take it. No. Mm-hmm. Defend yourself. Yeah. Again, to the point where it's necessary. But in life, so often we want to blame the external for our internal response. And it's like you were saying, all the driving stuff, right? How often am I speeding? How often am I doing something where I maybe have done the exact same thing?
We're all human.
And again, would I like the grace, right? Yeah. So again, like you said, I'd like to extend the grace. So therefore, when and if I need the grace, it's there versus, the reverse of it. So no, it's been an awesome conversation chatting. If you were going to leave a piece of advice with the people, and you're just like, you know what, of all the things I've learned, of all the stuff that I'm going through, how would I want to talk to myself? Like you did a little bit earlier, going back in time. It's like, if someone's listening and they're like, man, I'm struggling, I don't see the way out, I don't see the way through, what would you tell them?
Oh, that's a really good question, because I've been there on a many times. And just know that, when you brought it up and you said about Facebook and social media, you may see someone's life as happy and go lucky, and don't compare yourself, because you only see a postage size stamp of their life. They show you what they want you to see. They're not showing you the behind the scenes of the dirty house, or they're not showing you the fights, and they're not showing you the life. Right. Because everybody is a human. And I think the best advice and parting of anything is to remember that we are all human, and we are all going through a struggle. We are all battling something, and it's about time of just being gracious and understanding and patient, which is extremely hard nowadays, obviously. But even though I may not see eye to eye with you, to know that you're human and you're allowed to make mistakes just as much as I have made my own mistakes. There's that, don't throw rocks in a glass house. Right. I'm a glass house. And I'll be damned if I'm going to throw a rock at you because you're a glass house. Right. I think that's just going to fall us all down. So we should build each other up.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Carrie. Where can people find you? So if they're looking to get in contact or learn more about what it is you do, where can they get in touch?
So yes, obviously Above and Beyond Massage Therapy Clinic. We are at 3195, 3295, 32. That's a good question. So Quality Way, just up the street on Jefferson and EC Row, the gray building with the big red block. Yep. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on apparently my address, but okay. We're there on the first floor, and we have amazing people. Like I said, we have a social worker. We have 2 other registered massage therapists. Madison is going to be my next apprentice because it can be rather difficult to get in to see me. Yep. Blake is a personal trainer as well as a registered massage therapist, as well as a fascial stretch therapist. Tiago is a holistic practitioner and a reflexologist, indie head. And we're also in the process of getting aesthetics, which will be laser hair removal, microdermabrasion. And we're also talking to a yoga teacher, an art therapist, and a sound therapist, and an osteopath. So we're growing by leaps and bounds. And
awesome.
I think it's all because of just appreciating what life has to give.
That's amazing. Again, Carrie, thank you so much for coming in. Guys, if you don't know how to find it, you can just search on Google Above and Beyond. It will give you the address. Carrie, thanks again so much for having. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Again, it's great to be here, and another real story coming from Carrie Deslippe. Have a great day, guys.